What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. Aliens Fireteam Elite 2 lands this Tuesday on August the 25th. So today we are working out whether it deserves your money. Here is my read up front. If you have 3 friends and you want a co-op shooter to chew through together, this looks like an easy recommendation. If you are buying it to play alone, the answer got a lot better than it was in the first game. And there are 2 concerns worth knowing about before you commit. Let us get into it. First, where this is coming from, the game is not out yet, so nobody has played a full campaign start to finish. What we do have is hands-on preview sessions from people who got real time with it, plus everything the studio has shown and detailed themselves. I have gone through both. That means I can tell you exactly what is in the box and what it costs. What I cannot tell you is how it holds up over 20 hours. I will be clear about which is which. Let us talk money first. The standard edition is $50, which is already below a full price release. The 40th anniversary premium edition is $70, and what it adds is cosmetic. You get Ripley and Herc themed outfits and weapons and decals. There is also a separate Romulus pack at $10 if you want that content. It is on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series and Steam and Epic, and the co-op is cross-platform, including the voice chat that genuinely matters for a game you actually play with friends. Here's the setup without spoiling anything. You're on a colony on a world called LV-558. The studio describes it as a 4-player fight for survival rather than a rescue mission. That framing matters more than it sounds. The first game sent you in to save people. This one is about holding ground while things come at you from every direction, and the squad went from 3 players to 4, which changes the shape of every fight in the game. If you played the first Fireteam Elite, the differences here matter. The squad went from 3 players to 4, and that changes every encounter in the game. The arsenal is wider and the enemy roster is deeper. This one is also set 5 years after the first game, which puts it 28 years after the Aliens film. The consensus across previews was that it reads as a genuine expansion and improvement for a sequel to a game plenty of people found thin. That is the headline. It is the difference between a re-release and an actual follow-up. The thing preview after preview landed on is that this is a genuine step up from the first game, not a reskin and not a bigger expansion. The gunplay is described as tighter and the arsenal is wider. The enemy variety is smarter too. That 4th squad slot is doing real work too. It means a team can cover more angles, and it means the game can throw more at you at once. If you bounced off the original because it felt thin, this is the version that answers that. What I did not expect to see praised this consistently is the pacing. Several previews describe a real mix rather than constant noise. You get high-octane firefights and then slower methodical stretches that ask you to actually watch your corners. One write-up called it frantic without ever getting too chaotic. That is a harder balance to hit than it sounds for a swarm shooter, and it is the difference between a game you play for an evening and one you put down after an hour. The enemy roster is where the variety argument gets settled. The drone and the crusher and the striker all return from the first game, but the new additions are the interesting part. The exploder does exactly what the name suggests and detonates on you. The siren is a living alarm that calls in reinforcements if you let it live. The Warden is a heavy frontline unit built to break your formation. There are also the Harbinger and the Bulwark in the mix. That is a real spread of threats that ask for different answers. There are 6 classes this time. The Duelist is your flexible damage dealer, and the Machinist brings tech and turrets. The Marauder is the heavy, and the Hunter slows prey so the squad can hit weak points. The Medic keeps everyone standing, and the 6th is the Specialist, which is the interesting one. 5 of those you can just pick and play. The Specialist is different, and it is worth understanding before you buy. The Specialist has to be unlocked by leveling the other classes first, and it goes deeper than a simple gate. Abilities have to be unlocked on their source class before your Specialist can use them at all. So a well-leveled Medic is what makes Medic tools available to your Specialist build. The studio describes it as the pinnacle of where you can take a build aimed at the highest difficulties. That is a long-term goal rather than something you touch in week 1. Worth knowing if Buildcraft is the reason you are buying. And there is one thing worth clearing up here because it has been misread. In the official class overview, the developers threw around names like Gunfighter and Paladin and Grenadier and Elementalist. Those are not classes. They are not kits or subclasses or official presets either. They are the 4 developers' own personal nicknames for the builds they had made. So if you saw those names and assumed the Specialist ships with 4 ready-made archetypes, it does not. What you get is a blank board and the freedom to build toward one. The progression got a real pass as well. The perk grid expands from 32 slots to 42, so there is more room to actually specialize. Weapons now run as a primary plus a signature weapon, replacing the old secondary pattern. Sidearms are customizable, and there are 3 decal slots. Fully upgraded weapons gain augments that change your ammo. On top of that, there is a new element-based mod system that is a lot of surface for a co-op shooter at $50. So here's what you're actually buying: a 4-player co-op campaign with 6 classes and a much wider perk board, a weapon system with signature weapons and element mods, Horde Mode in the box at launch rather than added later, and friendly fire as a toggle, which tells you they thought about how groups actually play. That is a healthy amount of content for the price, and none of it is behind the premium edition. Horde Mode deserves its own moment because it ships at launch with dedicated maps, waves escalate, and the rewards get better the deeper you push. The part I like is that each session randomly picks one of 3 factions to throw at you. It might be xenomorphs, it might be the pathogen creatures, or it might be Wayland Yutani combat synthetics, which fight completely differently. That randomization is what stops a Horde Mode going stale in a Fortnite. Now, the question a lot of you will actually be asking: what if you have nobody to play with? The first game filled your squad with AI teammates, and those bots were its most common complaint. The previews say they have been vastly improved for this one. That is a direct answer to the loudest criticism of the original, and it changes who this game is for. A co-op shooter that only works with 3 friends has a much smaller audience than one you can reliably play alone. What nobody can tell you yet is how those bots hold up across a full campaign. Now, the concerns, and there are 2 worth taking seriously. The first is repetition. Previews noted that firefights in the larger open spaces feel more standard to the genre. They can blend together once you learn the enemy patterns. The second is sponginess. The sheer volume of the swarms can get frustrating on repeat runs. Community feedback pushed back on that directly, making the point that every enemy being a bullet sponge is not the same thing as genuine challenge. Neither of those is a deal breaker. Both are worth knowing. So who should actually buy this? If you have a group of 3 friends, this is aimed directly at you, and the cross-platform support removes the usual excuse. If you liked the first game but found it thin, everything here is wider and deeper. If you are a solo player, the previews say the AI teammates are vastly improved. That was the first game's loudest complaint. One preview described it as a lazy Sunday co-op game. That is a compliment, and it tells you the register. Here is my recommendation, and it comes with a condition. If you have people to play with, buy it on Tuesday. $50 is a fair deal for a co-op shooter with this much system behind it, and the standard edition is the whole game. If you are buying it purely to play solo, I would still lean yes, but give it a week and see what solo players report about the bots, and skip the premium edition unless you specifically want the cosmetics. So that is a before you buy. Some pros and some cons, and my honest take, and now I want to hear yours. Are you picking this up on Tuesday or waiting to see how it lands? Which class are you starting with, and is anyone actually going medic? And for those of you who played the first one, is a 4th squad slot enough to bring you back? Let me know down below. Subscribe if you want more Fireteam Elite coverage as it lands. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.